Yo, what's up boys? Welcome to this video. I'll be going over Windwalker Monk Guide for Season 3 of DragonFlight. And first thing we're going to start off with is our talents. Nothing has really changed. This is still what we're looking at. I play double Grace of the Crane and double Close to Heart just for maximum healing. Some people prefer having Strength of Spirit, but I don't. I will swap to Detox whenever I'm against a Hunter and need it for silence. I never swap it if I'm against a rogue because they insta reapply it. Some people do think it's worth, I don't. I also swap to Yulon's Grace if I'm fighting double casters that like dot me throughout the game, so like a Boomy SP, Boomy Affliction Lock. I'll also do it if it's a Demo SP, because I actually get huge value out of Yulon's Grace. But for now, let me take a Diffuse here. Otherwise, yeah, nothing has changed. This is still what we're working with. I don't take improvability because it's such a little increase. It's 40% compared to 8% for your allies and 8% for yourself from healers. And Windwalker healing is not the best. It is okay, but it's not that great that you need improvability for it. You would rather rely on your healers. Um, Otherwise, we do not ever take damage of the wind. We always take dampen arm. On to the right side, this is what I'm playing. I do really like Whirling Dragon Punch. I feel like everybody plays it at this point, and I do as well. We of course have Danger of Chi because of the tier set, and we play Serenity. I have tried Storm Earth and Fire at times, but it does not seem worth it. Definitely seems like Serenity is still the better choice, with no question there. Otherwise, yeah, it's the same as it was last season as well. No rule changes outside of Danger of Chi because of the new tier set. Before that, I didn't really play it. Now I do. Down to our PvP talents. I play Turbo Fist, Alpha Tiger, and Grapple Weapon if there's anything to disarm. Otherwise, we will play Reverse Arm. Those are the four I swap between. I never play anything else. You can try Mighty Ox Kick if there's a bridge or anything you can kick people out of, but I do definitely prefer this if there's nothing to disarm, and of course this if there's something to disarm. Never take away Alpha Tiger, never take away Turbo Fist. They're simply too good to take away. Stats wise, we're looking very same as last season. It's Mastery, Versatility, Crit. Some people do go Versatility, Mastery, Crit, but I prefer the extra damage compared to the extra passive tankiness, as we have gotten some defensive buffs, which makes us less squishy than Windwalkers we're used to. So yeah, as I said, Mastery, Versatility, Crit is what I'm going for. Moving on to our gear. Our tier sets, you want to put that on your hands, your legs, your chest, and your head. Those are the best places because those are the spots where you can get versatility and more preferred stats than you would get if you take the shoulders. With your waist and wrist, you will craft it so you have the versatility master waist and versatility master wrist instead of the versatility critical strike you can get from the vendor. With your embellishments, you want to go for your feet as last season and your neck for the lariat instead of the cloak, as it did get nerfed and it's not worth anymore. For your fingers, you want to get the double versatility mastery. And for your finger, or for your trinket, you go the on use as last season. Weapons, you do versatility master weapons with double Sophic devotion. You can also go two-hander. It's not that big of a difference, so you can go both. And of course, the enchants are the same. That's really it for our gear. With our gems, I go master versatility on all. As I said, I do want to go as much mastery as possible because I prefer the damage compared to the passive tankiness. For races, I would recommend you going orc. I have characters that are orc, dark orange dwarf, and human, and from playing them all, I feel like it is the best option for you. Um, with the with Rogue still being very dominant in the game, the stun reduction is just huge value also against other classes, so I'd definitely recommend you taking that. Night Elf can also be played, Dark Orange Dwarf can be played, Dwarf can be played. There's also other options, but Orc would definitely be the best one. For different comps you can play as a Windwalker, I have played a lot of different comps this season, both to get my glad and just at 25, 2600 MMR. The comps I found the best were Demon Hunter, Windwalker. It was Devastation Evoker, Windwalker, and the absolute best, as we also saw in the ABC, is probably Subtly Rogue, Windwalker. You can also still play the Walking Dead, which is DK Windwalker. And Boomy Windwalker still works. There's a lot of comps that still work with Windwalker, but the absolute best is 100% Subtly Rogue Windwalker, as if it's played to perfection, it can win against almost any comp in the game. So yeah, those are the comps I would recommend. I personally really like Devastation Evoker, Windwalker. I've also played a lot of SP Windwalker, which also seems kind of strong. It's kind of a sleeper comp. Well, I've played it a lot at around 2500 and more and have had great success with it. So yeah, those are definitely some comps that I would recommend you playing. If we look at our damage rotation, first we're going to look at the normal rotation, then we're going to look at the burst rotation. So if you're just doing normal damage, what you want to be doing is you want to be playing around your Rising Sun Kick and Fist of Fury. Also, of course, your Strike the Windlord, but that is more for burst. So it really depends on what you're fighting, but as much as you can, you want to be Fist of Fury into Rising Sun Kick. Because when you Fist of Fury, you can see when the duration is over, you get a pressure point, which is a talent where you get 40% crit after your Fist of Fury. So you want to maximize your Fist of Fury into Rising Sun Kicks for as many crit Rising Sun Kick as possible. Fist of Fury and Rising Sun Kick is the most damage you can get from your rotation, so you want to be spamming those two buttons as much as possible. You also want to make sure that you always have your Phalanx Stomp up, as it does give you 12% more damage. You can see here, whoever I hit with it, it takes 12% more damage from me, and then when you stand in it, it has a chance to reset faster than the 30 seconds here. You can see it reset, so it's also very good to be playing in it. I have glyph, so it's green here. But yeah, you want to try your best to be playing in it so it can get reset as much as possible. Regards to the tier set, which is where you get a blackout kick or a spinning crane kick prop, which gives you an enhanced blackout kick. Whenever they come, you want to stack your teaching of the monastery up as much as possible. You do that by doing tiger prompt, but you don't want to break your hit combo, so you still want to be doing other abilities in between. So you see I have 2 stacks now, as you see there. So whenever I get a proc of I'll just use it here. I got a proc right after, that's fine. So I'll stack mine up, and now I can use it, and you'll see I'll get a lot of blackout kicks with the enhanced, and it's gonna do a lot of damage. So that's just a little trick you can do with it. But otherwise, keep your Phalanx Stomp up, use Fist of Fury, and use Rising Sun Kick. That's pretty much your damage rotation. It's very straightforward, and you can also play around your Keeper Skyreach, but that is more for burst rotation. So yeah, going into your burst rotation, what you want to do is, first of all, you want to pop your Tiger. This is both for damage, but also for the 33% increased haste. You want to have your Phalanx Stomp for the 12% damage. Then you want to Tiger's Palm for the Keepers. Then you want to pop your shit. You would start at the Windlord into Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick. If the crit is done from Skyreach, you want to Fist of Fury into Rising Sun Kick, into RSK, Blackout Kick, and reset the RSK. You want to get as much value as you can from the crit. So you want to keep Fist of Furying into Rising Sun Kick so you can get as much crit as possible. So as you see here, I'm trying to get as many Rising Sun Kicks in my crit window as I can. I do that by using Blackout Kick to reset my Rising Sun Kick. So if I Fist and Fury here, I will use my Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick into Rising Sun Kick, and you want to be doing that inside of the window of the crit, of course. With your spinning crane kick, if you get a proc before your burst, it's really good to use that in your burst window as well, as it does do very big amounts of damage. And as I talked about earlier, you can then stack your Teaching of the Monastery up to 3 stacks. So as you see, I got a proc. I have a proc on me now. So if I burst here, that does a huge amount of damage. You can see it imploded a bunch of blackout kicks, some of them hitting for very big amounts of damage. So yeah, that is the way you want to burst. You want to get as many Rising Sun kicks out in your burst window as possible. Really also depends on what you're fighting. If you're fighting something that gets away really easily, you want to especially focus on your Rising Sun kick. If you're fighting double melees, then Fist of Fury is a really good tool both offensively and defensively. So yeah, that's pretty much it for your burst rotation and your normal rotation. For your defensives and kiting, the order I would be using my defensive in is I would probably use Karma as the first CD, as it is a short cooldown, only 1.5 minutes. Your Fortifying Brew is 6 minutes, your Diffuse Magnet is 1.5, and your Dampen Harm is 2 minutes, so it's almost the shortest cooldown you have as your defensive, and it's also the biggest cooldown you have. If you're fighting against a rogue mage that can get your karma off with cloak or block, then you really want to try and use it on a target that doesn't have that, or if they have it on CD. Otherwise, it's really worth if you want to help your healer or yourself around pillars. You drop down your Ring of Peace, so they can't get around you outside of running all the way around, and you can get really easily away. That's for kiting. For pre-using defensives, you really want to have an DR add-on tracker that tracks whenever you have stun DR on you, and whenever you're not on stun DR, it can be very much of value pre-popping either your Fortifying Brew or Dampen Harm, Diffuse, or Karma. Windwalker's monks are still squishy even though we got defensive buffs, so pre-popping is definitely a must in a high CR Windwalker monk gameplay. Another big thing we have is we have Fist of Fury, which parries 90% of all incoming damage. Or it parries it all, my bad. It's the movement of 9%. Yeah, it parries all damage, all physical damage that comes in. So against double melee or just a single melee, it's huge value to be spamming your Fist of Fury, as it is both a big offense or a big offensive spell. It does a lot of damage, and you don't take damage while doing it. So that is, you want to be maximizing Fist of Fury against double melee especially. Other things you can do for kiting wise is just porting back and forth. So you port one time, you let them leap to you if it's warrior or charge to you, and then you port back. And that way they'll have, you know, used a lot of mobility to get to you and might not have its good back to you. For certain tips and tricks we can say, one of them is just simply putting you down a pre-rob. So if you're fighting against a rogue or a stealth, when you see your healer getting sapped, you can pre-rob yourself and try and get the rogue out. So if you put it in the middle, he will have to stay far away from it, and usually he can't attack you properly, so they'll lose the opener. Um, a huge thing to also do is to, when the target is very low, low enough to Touch of Death, you want to be Fist of Furying into Touch of Death. So when the target is very low, I Fist of Fury and I will spam my Touch of Death button, so I get a free global whenever it comes up. So that's a thing to keep in mind, as our Touch of Death is very buggy, so that's a easier way to get it off, and just a certain way to kill them. Into DKs, I recommend not stunning them, because they would just, almost every DK instantly icebound first global, which is a cooldown that makes them not being able to be stunned for 10 seconds and take 30% less damage. So instead of stunning them, you simply disarm them, and then you can stun another target or para another target, so you can get the metal primary stat increased by 546, which is from your embellishment of the feat. So you simply disarm the DK so they can't heal, and then you do your go on them without the 30% defensive they have in Icebound. So that's a thing to keep in mind. I never stun DKs anymore in my go, because they just Icebound instantly, and then that's 30% damage less I do on them. Another thing to keep in mind is it's really value to para healers into stuns. So often I do a go on a DPS and I swap it over to the healer within that 4 seconds. So it's just very value to para into stun still, especially on the healers. Next thing is just keeping your Alpha Tiger up. A way you can do that, if there's not enough players to keep it up on, then you simply just target pets and totems. Anything you hit with your Tiger Palm will give you a stack of Alpha Tiger. So it doesn't matter if it's pet, totem, anything. It's just very value to keep it up as it is huge haste you have. Next thing you can do is you can be Ring of Peace people into double sweeps or triple sweeps if they're too far away. Um, your your leg sweep is 8 yards, which is very little. With the talent, it increases to 10 yards, which is a little bit more. And I've heard that if you jump, it increases a little bit more. I'm not sure if that is true, but I always jump for my leg sweep because I do think it increases it a little bit more. So yeah, robbing into leg sweeps is huge value. You can get a double sweep or a triple sweep that way. Another thing, as we can hear, rob is huge value. You can also try, instead of pre-robbing yourself against rogues, you can try and rob them out. I find this not being worth it the most of the times, but if you're certain you'll get them out there to rob, you can throw it over and try and rob them out instead of pre-robbing yourself after 7th healer. Um, Against rogues also, in the opener, if you can get them out with a rob, or if you can just if they come out by garroting the healer instead of stunning insta, then the order to do to CC them in is disarm them. They would probably cloak that, and then you para them, and they maybe sometimes they tring it, and then you can stun them. But you want to disarm and para them in that order, because then you'll get their cloak, and you can para on the cloak. As I said also in the damage rotation, one thing I want to make clear is whenever you get a spinning crane kick, as I just did there, you want to be stacking your blackout or Tunium of the Monastery up as much as you can, so you can get a huge value out of your blackout kicks. So here I'll use it. I have this now, and I have 3 times of Tunium of the Monastery. So my next blackout kick is going to be huge value. So if I use this here, and I'll do it over here, you can see I get all these blackout kicks out. And they're huge damage, and they can literally 20% to O's at a target. They really don't expect it. So yeah, that is just a thing to keep in mind. Stack your Teaching of the Monastery whenever you get a proc of Spinning Crane Kick, if possible. If not, then just explode it as normal. Another thing you can do is against ferals or even arduids, if they're still in stealth and you can get to another target, you want to be spam Fist of Fury before they open, because they usually open with rake stuns on every target they can to get their dots up. So you want to be Fist of Fury because you can Fist of Fury their stuns. You also want to be tracking Arduid stun, because that is also a stun you can Fist of Fury, and therefore parry. So if you can track those CDs, it's big value, and especially against ferals, try and Fist of Fury their direction when they open in stealth, because then they will not stun you. And a lot of times they get kinda wary of that because they don't expect it. And the last tip I'll give is, with the introduction of precog, kicking has never ever been harder. So instead of like we used to kick late, because that give more value because they do a longer cast and then they can cast for a shorter amount of time. But now the emphasis is on kicking early. You always want to kick early because that's the biggest chance you have of them not faking you. So as soon as you see the bar, then kick. A lot of times I Fist of Fury into kick. So whenever I Fist of Fury, I'll hold my finger on E, which is my kick button, and whenever I see the cast, I insta click it. So I always get the kick. Yeah, that's just a little tip that I use 24/7 now. I always kick early, never ever kick late, because they will fake you, and then they will pre-calc, and then they will clone you if it's a druid, and that is so frustrating. But yeah, that's it for my tips and tricks. Towards macros that I'm using, I do not use Arena 1, 2, 3. I do use Party 1, 2, 3, but for my arena targets or enemies, I just use Focus. So we can go through them here. I have my Vilfi, I have that for Party 1 and 2. I have that hidden, it's here. I have my trinket just on a use 14, so whatever I put on this base, it will be what is here. I have my bone dust brew, which is an old macro, we don't use bone dust brew anymore. On my mount, I have cancel aura, both freedom and blessing of protection, because if you're fighting against a mage, or yeah, if you're fighting against a mage that can steal them, you want to get them off as soon as they're used. For my, I don't use this. For my detox, I have it for party 1. I don't have it for party 2. I just swap it whatever my healer is. I have a focus disable macro, focus grab a weapon macro. I have here, I have my focus interrupt macro, and I have a party 1 and 2 Tigers Lost. If I ever need to target lost my DPS. If it's, for example, it could be a SP that wants to get a fear on the healer of my para, I can target lost him so he can get faster to it. Or it could to get a healer out of a root, or for example a root beam. Again, just have a mount with cancel aura. I have that for Storm Earth and Fire. Sometimes you want to be able to cancel your Storm Earth and Fire. Here I have my unused trinket with my Blood Fury. Again, I have it if I use 13, so whatever is in this spot here, that will be what's displayed down here. I have a focus paralysis, where I also have my pet dismiss, because your pet does break your paralysis, so it's great value to have a pet dismiss macro on that. I have that same with my normal paralysis. I do have a pet dismiss. On my Rising Sun Kick, I have provoked on all the arena pets in the game, or in the arena, just for them to get go me instead of my teammates, and they will then lose damage on the specific target. On my burst macro, I have Ceph and Serenity in the same. I have it here as known, so whenever I swap between them, my macro will adjust. You can see X down here is the macro, and now it adjusted. So that's just, instead of having to take them off and out, I do this one. I did it the same when we only were able to have diffuse or dampen. For my tiger, I just have big red ray gun, which is just a toy that makes my tiger big and red, as you see here, which also can be used in arena. And down here we have my Vivify Party 2. So those are the macros, nothing fancy. I just use focus and party 1, 2, 3. No arena 1, 2, 3 for me. With my add-ons, there are a couple of add-ons that I think have huge value. The first one is big debuffs. I think this is a must-have. This just ups your awareness by a lot, which is just, it puts the debuff on the target frame here, as you see. Next one, which is worth mentioning, is I have classic numbers, which is just my font for numbers, as you see there. If we go in here, details is the damage details shown down here. Diminish is actually something that you definitely want to. It's up at your party frame. You will have the diminishing returns coming up here, which is if you are on DR for stuns or other forms of CC. I have Dome cooldown pulse, which is actually a very beneficial add-on. It shows you whenever my abilities are coming back off cooldown here in the middle. You can see this is coming back, so it will show here in the middle that it's come back. Again, it's something that ups your awareness. Next up we have Gladius EX, which is in arena. It's the cooldowns from the enemies I can see. I can show you it real quick. We can test 1, 2, 3, and then we can test S arena as well, so you can see how it looks. So you can see here above the arena frames of my enemies, I have the specific cooldowns for each class. So this would be for a hunter, a mage, and this would be for a druid. This is just some test ones, so this is not what I actually have on. But here you can see it's just, again, for awareness, which is the #1 thing that you want in arena, maximum awareness. We have Omni Bar, which is what I use for tracking shorter CDs, for example, Lightning Lasso or Kidney. We have Omni CD, which is, or Omni CC, which is the cooldown count. We have Omni CD, which tracks my party members' different cooldowns, so I don't have to ask them. Cause when you're doing arena and if you're on voice, you want to have the communication to be as centralized on the specific gameplay that is important. So you don't want to have to. Do you have grip? Do you have this? Do you have that? You want to have as. You want to only talk about what's completely necessary to maximize awareness and maximize your gameplay. Um, Next I have tell me whens, which is what you can see here. I have a couple of tell me whens, which I also think are very useful. I can show you here. Okay, I'll do this. You can see I have a tell me when here for Skyreach. So whenever I Skyreach a target, I can see here that I can see it's on the target here, and this one will be how long I have to crit for. We can see over here is my hit combo. This down here is Alpha Tiger, and down here is that I have an instant ability proc. Let's see what I else have. Down here is Eponyte from Augmentation Evoker. Last season Augmentation was really good, so I made one for that. This one is, as I said, Skyreach to see if it's up on the target. This one is Pressure Point, so this is after Fist of Fury. When I Fist of Fury, when that breaks, you can see I have 5 seconds for a 40% crit on my Rising Sun Kick. So it's, again, every one of my add-ons is for awareness, because that's the #1 thing that you want to have in Arena. The better awareness you have, the better player you are. Let's see if there's others I didn't mention. Hit combo, let's see, this one is Fake Exposure. So this is if I have hit a target with my Phalanx Stomp. So if I do this, okay, apparently this doesn't actually work. Well, that's unlucky. But it should recognize whenever I have Phalanx Stomp on the target. But yeah, those are for my tell me whens. Moving on, I have Tidy Plates, which is just my nameplates here. It also tracks the debuffs on the target, which can be useful. Again, just awareness. I have Omnibar, which tracks enemies. Oh wait, I already talked about that. We go further down. I have True to GGD, which is just over here to see what spells I used before that. It's mostly for my viewers because I do stream over on Twitch. And for the last thing, I have Weakors. First one I have is Arena Partycast. So it's when I have arena frames here. I can show you it if I just make a group. So you can see when I cast. Okay, it only works in arena, see. But there's just a cast bar on here, so I can see if I'm playing with a Holy Paladin, for example, and I say, or I want to do some CC, and if I can see he's casting a rep, of course I won't do it. So I just want to track the cast bars off my team members. Other things we have Dispelled Venom. This is the Hunter Sting from Hunters, which I can dispel with Detox. So it puts it on the target for 3 seconds, and then it implodes. So you can dispel it instantly if you have this Weaker, because awareness. We have a Drink one if the enemy healer is drinking. I have a Healer CC, so this is whenever my healer for my team is in CC, this will pop up, and I will know to pre-kite, pre-port if possible. I have one for Healing Tide for our Shamans. If they have their Healing Tide up, I know I need to kill it. I have a Nullifying Shout for Evokers when I know they're immune to CC. I have PvP cooldowns, which is just a bunch of different offensive and defensive PvP cooldowns that just gets announced, so I know they're up. I have this one for PvP queue. It's just whenever I'm in arena, I can see how long the average time and the time in queue is. I have this one for Warriors Warbreaker, so I know when to disarm them. This one is very beneficial too. This is for totems of shamans, so I can specifically see which totem is what. I have a Touch of Karma one, which just says how much of my karma is up. So if I karma this, it says that there's 570k until this breaks. That can be very beneficial. Otherwise, I have a War Supply one, which is just a War Supply crate that comes down. And that's pretty much it for Rigor. So that's it for my add-ons and my macros. And I think that's it for the whole video actually. So if you did enjoy, please do leave a like, a comment, and I stream over on Twitch, so if you want to follow me there, see me there, as that is where I do all my Windwalker content. It is Twitch FaceX. I'll put a link in the description. And yeah, boys, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.